All right, here are the skills that got changed for Mystic. So this is only for PvE damage, nothing changed for PvP. Thunder Pound, huge buff. It went from 904 times 9 to 1139 times 9, which is pretty big. And then the last hit damage, 720 times 5 to 828 times 5. Not that much, but this itself is pretty big. Tornado Kick, I really didn't notice it, but you know, we use it in between a rotation, so that's why I probably didn't notice it. 888 times 6 to 1156 times 6, pretty good. Soul Basher, this was like around 15% damage increase overall, but the big one is right here. The crit rate for Rage Hammer. This one is the one I feel the most out of everything. Now, Roaring Tiger, it's like, okay. It doesn't feel that like it hits as hard as the damage is. Like, it has higher modifiers on it, but not sure. Overall, I think if someone plays Mystic well, they can play it decently and pull some good trash loot, but her damage rotation and everything feels like a lot more effort than it should be. Like, Strikers is simpler and does more damage and has bigger AoE range. Like, her AoEs are very much in a cone shape. Doesn't feel like, you know, you can effectively take out a group of mobs unless you're perfectly positioned. All right, let me at least do a quick damage rotation. I know people are gonna freaking ask about this. So my usual damage rotation revolves around two things. So you're generating shards and then you're dumping shards. Then you have two buffs you need to keep in mind: the Rabam skills. Nature's Wrath gives you attack speed buff 5% and accuracy buff, so 12%. 9-second cooldown, but the buffs last 10 seconds, so keep it up perma. This is on 25-second cooldown, but gives you a massive attack speed buff, so it's like really noticeable. So anyway, what I like to do is usually Soul Basher into Tornado Kick, which is just holding down F. Then to Hidden Claw, that generates enough shards for the first big skill. I usually start off with Wave Orb, but it's more dependent on how the mobs are oriented. Like, for example, if they're too scattered, then you can do a Rage Hammer. If you need to get behind, then you can do a Sea Burial, whichever. The second part is going to be Thunder Pound into Fist of Fury into a 3-shard skill. So let me just give it a try here. So buff. There we go. And then you just keep rotating between Soul Basher and Thunder Pound combos. And then you eventually go through all of them, and then you use whichever one comes off cooldown first. Got it? Let me just do the rotation a few times. Then I'm going to hop onto the Striker to see a comparison, sort of. Oh, let me start over. Forgot my buffs and stuff. All right. A lot more effort compared to Striker because there's just a lot more moving parts. For Striker, it's just straightforward. We're good on that. Let me switch over and see the damage modifiers. What's Martial Shards? Is basically those shards that pop up on your screen. Those things that you stack up to 3. For Striker, you build up those Martial Shards, and at 3 shard, all you do is get your attack speed buff off. So like, this is only used for this one skill. Crouching Wolf is for the attack speed. If you have 3 shards, you get a 20% attack speed. If you have less than 3 shards, you'll consume 1 for 10%. All right, let's hop into BA. I'll show you guys the Striker. We'll take a look at the skills as well. So Striker skills, let's take a look at this. Main damage rotations come from Crimson Fang and Adamantine Trees. So by trees, I mean you use Adamantine first and you use the follow-up skills. Crimson Fang is somewhere here. Where is it? Here it is. The first skill, Crimson Fang itself, doesn't have much damage on it. But then the follow-up skills are ×2 Crimson Fang damage. Then it's ×3 Crimson Fang damage. And these like come in really quick after. So you have to consider it almost like one entire skill. And then Explosive Blow, same thing. Like, it starts here, I think it goes into Final Blow here. Looking at the modifiers, it's not a big deal, but the thing about Striker is a lot of his skills have Pog crit, like 50% crit. I don't use Fist of Fury for Striker much. Just doesn't fit into my rotation. Adamantine, a very strong skill, but once again, I think it's the discharge energy damage that really makes the difference for him. And then these all like scale off. You know, in terms of the numbers here, I just don't see it. It doesn't seem like an absurd amount of numbers, right? Let's see at least Roaring Tiger. Even Roaring Tiger is like, I think that's better. Roaring Tiger is better. Wolf's Fang, pretty good. Rage Hammer, pretty good. All right, let's do the rotation. You guys know the Striker rotation, right? I start off with Explosive Jolt into Roaring Tiger into Wolf's Fang, and then I go into Crimson Fang, then to adamantine. Let's buff up first. There we go. So this, if you notice, like all of these are getting hit by some skill or the other. Whereas in Mystic, it's just like this one dummy. So that AoE difference is pretty huge. All in all, I think the damage increase for Mystic is more like, you know, 10 to 15%. I think that's my estimate. We'll see what other people, better Mystic players, are doing. But overall, still not enough to catch up to Striker, I'll say that. Like, I wanted to do the spreadsheet I was making, but I need to make it a bit more complicated in order to get the full picture. Overall, the numbers just don't make sense, honestly. Like, Striker's numbers seem lower, but in terms of how much damage he pulls a lot higher. The accuracy, Mystic has better accuracy. So if you look at all the modifiers on Strikers, it's like 5%. It's not much, 8%. Mystic has like a few skills which are higher. Oh, this one is good, but it's like mass destruction doesn't do much damage. Mystic has a few skills which are higher, but the big thing for her is she has a permanent 12% accuracy buff with Rabam. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Always jumps back during combos. How do you keep him in one place? That happens to me too. You just got to play the skills properly. So you don't want to hold it too long when you do your Wolf's Fang. On paper, Mystic ain't that bad, but in terms of performance, like look at these other dummies right here, right? They're not standing close to it, but they are getting affected by my skills a lot more than freaking Mystic's does, you know? And that does come into play. So all in all, if you want to grind Hadoom, I think you're better off using Awaken Mystic. Honestly, what are your thoughts on it? Like in terms of like my 2 hours of grinding, like when I pull the mobs perfectly and use my rotation perfectly, it wipes out, you know, the mobs pretty quickly. But about it. Striker, Pog, Mystic, man. I'm also better on my Striker, 100%, because I haven't been playing Mystic in a long while. But even if I played her perfectly, the AoE difference is a bit of a deal breaker, you know? Like, let me go back to my Mystic, I'll show you. Just keep an eye on the AoE size. So like, Mystic has a mechanic where if you use Crouching Wolf, you get a buff which extends the AoE size of some of your skills. I'll show you guys, but it's still not enough. Crouching Wolf, let's see. Okay, it's this one. Prey Hunt. Number of targets and attack range increases when Thunderpound and Rage Hammer are used during Prey Hunt. Let me activate that. Okay, get my cooldowns back, accuracy buffs. It's like just one hit here and there. Those are a lot weaker than the Striker ones. Don't get it really. All in all, so was it enough? Nope. Not in my books.